Tammany Parish Planning Commission meeting of April the 12th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Seeger.
Here.
Ress. McInnes.
Here.
Willie.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
Barcelona.
Here.
Fitzmaurice.
Here.
Crawford.
Here.
Smale.
Here.
Randolph.
Here.
Truxillo.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I want to introduce our clerk. He's only been with us 2 weeks, 3 weeks. About that? Okay. His name is Mitchell Kogan. So if you call the planning, he may answer the phone. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. Appeals, you have the right to appeal any decision that we make to the council. Speaker cards are on the railing to my right. You will need a speaker card in order to speak. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. After the case is heard, your case is heard, we ask you to please exit the building. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Willie.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you as humble as we know how, but with thanksgiving and praise in our hearts as we recognize all the blessings you bestowed in each and every one of our lives. We thank you for your grace and mercy that we've experienced this day, that you granted unto each and every one of us. We thank you for our families, Lord. We thank you for our parish and our government, our leaders. Lord, we thank you for this commission. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our staff members and all of our employees. Be with us. And Lord, we ask that you continue to be with and bless all of our veterans and military personnel, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and medical personnel as they go through what's going through every day. And we thank you. It's in your holy name. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, in your packet was the minutes from March the 8th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. Staff, we have any postponement?
Yes. Maybe I would like to first bring up to your attention on page 6, item 25, enter the parish right away has been withdrawn. It's in a Northwood Village subdivision. Just wanted to bring it to your attention if anyone is in the audience. The case has been withdrawn.
Okay, let me read it into the record so that we have it. This is a request to enter the parish right-of-way for Eden's Place for the purpose of installing utilities, Northwood Village Subdivision. It was Resolution 21-009. The debtor was Mangano Properties, LLC. Parish Council District, Honorable Chris Canulet. General location, the property is located north of Brown Switch Road, west of Louisiana Highway 1091, within Northwood Village Subdivision, Slide L, Ward 8, District 8. This has been withdrawn. So if anybody's here for that, it's not going to be heard. Anything else, Helen?
Yes. The first request to postpone is on page 3, number 14, 2022-2753 TP under tentative subdivision, and Mr. Paul Marone is here to address the commission.
Okay. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, members of the commission, Paul Maroon on behalf of the petitioner. This is a sister case to the amendment to the PUD for River Park Trails that you heard sitting as a zoning commission last week. If you recall, we had to postpone the amendment to the PUD so that we could make additional changes to it. This tentative can't go forward until the PUD amendment has been decided and approved by the zoning commission. So We would ask that this be tabled again so that we have the opportunity to make those changes to the PUD and present it to you as the zoning commission for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on postponing this item? Let me read it into the record. It's case 2022-2753-TP, River Park Trails subdivision, formerly River Park Estates subdivision, Phase 3. Developer owners, River Park Estates LLC. Engineer surveyor is Deep South Design Group LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the north side of MP Planche Road, west of Louisiana Highway 25, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. It was postponed at the March meeting. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to move to postpone the tentative subdivision review for, how many months, Paul? 1 month, for 1 month.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone for 1 month our next meeting. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you.
The next item requested to be postponed is on page 5, item 21, 2022-2795 FP, Bontero Phase 1A. Mr. Jeff Shane is here to address the commission.
Okay.
And the
Good.
next one also as a request, number 22, which is the next one, 2022-2797 FP, which is Gust Island Estates. And Mr. Shane is here to address the same request.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commission. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. With regard to items 21 and 22, that's Bontero Phase 1A and Gust Island Estates Parcel I, both of which come up for final subdivision review. In light of staff's recommendation for postponement and because we're still working on some punch list items, we would appreciate those matters being postponed until next month. We do think we'll be in a position to move forward in May.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on item 21, which is Bontero Phase 1A? All right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on Gust Island, Partial I? All right, let me read these into the record. 2022-2795 FP, Bontero Phase 1A, developer owners Lynn Levy Land Company LLC, engineer surveyors J.V. Burks and Associates, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Michael Smith. General location, the property is located on the east and west sides of North Military Road, Louisiana Highway 1090, north of Interstate 12, Slidell, Ward 8, District 9. Commissioner Seeger.
In regards to case number 21, 2022-2795 FP, I move to postpone for 1 month.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Seeger to postpone for 1 month till our next meeting. Commissioner Randolph.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. All right, item 22 is case 2022-2797 FP, Gust Island Estates, Partial I, developer owners McKent Incorporated, engineers Kelly McHugh and Associates Incorporated, Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Michael Reno. General location, the property is located south of Louisiana Highway 22 at Gust Island Road, east of Louisiana Highway 1085, south of Interstate 12, west of the town of Madisonville, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 4. Commissioner Seeger.
In regards to case 2022-2797 FP, I move to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to postpone for 1 month till our next meeting. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Tom, you had asked to move up a case and.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I missed one request.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. On page number 4, number 18, 2022-2755 FP for River Park Phase 2, and Mr. Morone is here to address the commission.
Which one, Helen?
Number 18 on the agenda on page 4,
Okay,
2022-2755 FP.
okay. This is River Park Estates Phase 2. Developer owner is River Park Estates LLC. Engineer surveyor, Deep South Design Group LLC. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, property is located on the north side of MP Planche Road, west of Louisiana Highway 25, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. It was postponed from the March 8th meeting. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this matter was postponed last month, I wanted to take the opportunity this evening, excuse me, to give you all an update and explain the delays. As you probably saw in the staff comments, our submittal of additional documentation was received after the deadline, which meant that Mr. Reynolds and his group were not able to get out and make the inspection. So we recognize that that has to happen before you can make a decision. But we did want to make sure that everybody understood that these last 2 months we have been actively working on all of these matters. We believe that all of the punch list items are completed. I have some pictures that I was going to leave with Mr. Reynolds. The delay resulted from a change in the design of the weir outfall. Once we got that approval back from the engineering office, we made those changes within 5 days, but we didn't have a chance to get our as-built done back to Mr. Reynolds so he could review those, get out to the site, and so forth. So, as I said, we do believe that all of the work is done. All of the punch list items are complete. We wanted to let you know that so that you're aware that we weren't just out there waiting around and not accomplishing these items that needed to be accomplished, so that hopefully we can be before you next month with a clean staff report where we'll ask for final approval and hopefully have our plats approved and signed at that time. But we thank you, and we'll see you next month. On this item, we would ask that it be tabled as staff has recommended.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on postponing this item? I'll bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion to postpone.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to postpone till our next meeting, 1 month. Commissioner Seeger.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. Helen, anything else?
No.
Yes.
We do have quite a few regards regarding 2795 for phase 1A.
Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. Tom, you asked to have one case moved up.
Mr. Chair, and fellow commissioners, in taking into account the young children in the audience who are future citizens of this parish, in regards to case number 13, I would like to move that up to the top of the order, please.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Seeger to move up item 13, which is PET-2022-04-001, request to build on a buildable substandard lot of record pursuant to section 125-84 continuous lot rule of chapter 125 subdivision regulations, located on the north side of Edward Street, east of August Avenue, being lot 22, square 44, west edition of Morgan Subdivision, Slide L, Ward 9, District 14. The owner Petitioner representative is Letitia Foster. Parish Council District Representative is T.J. Smith.
You don't need to vote unless there's any opposition.
Is there any opposition to moving this up? Okay. Ms. Foster? Ms. Foster?
Mr. Chairman, would you like to hear the case?
Yes.
The petitioner is requesting to build on a 2,500 square foot property having 25-foot road frontage along Edward Street and a depth of 100 feet. In order for the Planning Commission to approve a request for building on a buildable substandard lot of record, the petitioner must provide proof that they do not currently own and has not sold, nor has any predecessor in deed or title sold any contiguous lots during a period following the initial adoption of the regulation, which is January 20th, 1994. Staff does not have any objection to the request, as the petitioner has provided, did not have the opportunity to purchase a 2,500 square foot lot without the option of acquiring any adjacent property, and based on the fact that the petitioner has satisfied the requisite requirements of proof as referenced to above.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
You got anything would you like to tell us about?
As far as property, it's kind of new to me. Like I said, I was telling her, I worked hard for it. Like I said, I put a lot of money down on it, and it's something that I want. I know the property next to me is not mine, but we're in the process of trying to find who owns it to see if they're willing to sell it. We're kind of in that process, me and the owner. But for now, it's just a 25 by 100 foot lot that it's available right now.
Okay. All right. And you understood the staff comments about anything you needed to do?
Not really. I'm kind of nervous, and I don't really know a lot, so I'm not really sure. I mean, to be honest, it's my
Okay.
first time, so.
We'll be happy to help you, in
I
the
just
event
really
that.
kind of need some help as far as this. Like I said, I'm new to this, so if anything can help, would be nice.
Okay. Her name's Helen Lambert, and you can call the Department of Development. She'll be happy to help you.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
All right. We'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Am I good or? Okay, thank you.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go back to the front of the agenda. Item 1, request to enter the parish right-of-way for Henry Clay Street, Town of Mandeville, unincorporated, for the purpose of gaining access to the property. The debtor is Dilso Gatano Gonclaves. Representative is Honorable Marina O'Brien. General location is the property is located on the west end of Henry Clay Street, west of Coffee Street, north of Louisiana Highway 190, and south of Interstate 12, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 10. Staff?
Yes, sir. Staff has no additional comments and no objection to the proposed request at this time. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is Gonclaves here? Someone here representing? Come forward. You got it. Okay, please state your name and address.
My name is Celia Cruz. The owner of the lot is Mr. Dilso Gonçalves, the gentleman back there.
Okay, we need you to fill out a speaker card when you get finished. You want to tell us what's, you're trying to enter the parish right away?
He bought the lot by the end of the year, and the lot doesn't have the asphalt in front of it. So he wants to extend the asphalt in front of the lot in order to get access to his property. And he's gonna build his home there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak for or against on this item? All right, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 2 is request to enter the parish right-of-way for Delta Street and Eldora Avenue, Tammany Trace subdivision for the purpose of gaining access to the property. The debtor is Tammany Trace LLC. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located on the south of Walden Street, east of Louisiana Highway 437, north of Louisiana Highway 190, and north of Interstate 12, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Yes, sir. Staff has no additional comments and no objection to the proposed request at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Maroon.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Paul Marone on behalf of Tammany Terrace LLC. We're requesting permission to enter Delta Street and Eldora Avenue for the purposes of gaining access to property which Tammany Terrace owns along both of those rights-of-way. We've reviewed the resolution and the requirements set forth therein. We're fully prepared to comply with all those, so we would respectfully request your approval this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Maroon. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Yes, ma'am. Come forward. Please state your name and address.
My name is Kay Irwin, 20122 Tammany Avenue. I'm a 16-year resident of the Tammany Terrace subdivision, and I'm not sure I fully understand what is being done based on these descriptions, but my belief is that Eldora currently extends from Tammany Avenue north to Walden Street, and the design that I've seen for the subdivision would include an equal extension to the south from Tammany Avenue to, I believe it's Warren Street. The first street from Tammany Avenue would be Delta. And if the purpose of this right-of-way is into Tammany Avenue, then I have a couple of things I'd like the commission to consider. The first option would be only to build the southern section of Eldora between Delta and Warren until the construction is complete. And that would channel all of the construction vehicles in the unpopulated section of the subdivision that is to be built. Alternatively, the second option would be, if this in fact is going to be a right-of-way into Tammany Avenue, which the sign led me to believe it would be, that you would improve Tammany Avenue, particularly at the intersection with Highway 437, Lee Road, because currently the street is 19 feet wide, and without trying to become a road hazard myself, I went out and tried to measure it, and it looks like there's only a 3 to 5 foot turning radius or apron, I'm not sure what the technical term is for the road, but where the road widens to meet 437 on either side. And so that doesn't allow room for vehicles to pull in. You know, given that a UPS, FedEx delivery truck is 10 feet wide and a school bus and dump truck is between 8 and 9 feet wide, you're going into a 19-foot street with very little turning. You almost have to make a complete right angle. The same thing is true where Eldora currently intersects Tammany Avenue. We've had a number of vehicles that have either gone off the road, and the distance between Tammany Avenue and the ditches ranges from 0 feet to about 3 feet at best. And that's because so many vehicles have slid off the road that the bank of the ditch has collapsed, or because they've dug out the ditch to improve draining. I think I speak for many residents in saying that we're ready to welcome new neighbors to the new part of the subdivision, but we don't want that to be marred by an accident or injury. Like I said, there have been a number of vehicles that have gone off. One truck that turned off of Lee Road, Highway 437 onto Tammany during the construction of the northern part of the subdivision actually turned over, and luckily he only lost his load. There's still a big mound of dirt there from when he was coming in. He didn't lose his limb or his life, but there's a real concern about the traffic that I think this road is supporting, the access, just bringing the vehicles in. So, first option is just don't bring it into Tammany Avenue until the construction is complete. The other one is improve Tammany Avenue. And I don't know who was responsible, but an example is what they did on South Fitzmaurice in the last year or so. That is a perfect example of an improvement to a very dangerous intersection where vehicles didn't have enough room to turn. If it can't be something as extensive as what was done for South Fitzmaurice, an example is Walden to the north of Tammany, which I think is the counterpart to Warren. It has measured it, and it looks like it has a good 15-foot turning apron from Walden Street to where it meets up with Lee Road. So thank you very much for, one, posting the signs and letting us know this is happening, and two, giving us an opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak against? Paul, I'm going to go to you for rebuttal and maybe answer some of the ladies' questions.
Yes, Ms. Irwin brings up a good point. She really had 2 points. The first was the request that we maybe not connect directly in to Tammany Avenue. Unfortunately, that really we cannot accomplish. However, her issues about the turning radius off of 437 onto Tammany Avenue are good points. I've talked to my client who's here. We would absolutely look into that. We did the turning apron at Warren that she referred to, and we will look into that. And in our plans that we submit, that we have to submit pursuant to your resolution, we will look at that and make proposals to your staff for consideration of widening that turning radius so it's safer ingress and egress for us and for those that are using Tammany Avenue at this point.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to give her one of your business cards, and that way she's got your contact information.
I'll be happy to do so.
All right. Thank you. All right. Ms. Irwin, you heard what Mr. Morone said, and he's going to get you a business card so that y'all can have some conversations if you have something else. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Barcelona.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Barcelona to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, I'd like to second, as long as we include the amendment or the addition that Paul is going to look into for that turning.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 3, request to enter the parish right-of-way for Fairview Drive, Woodland Park subdivision for the purpose of gaining access to the property. The debtor is Mr. Patrick Deloge. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Kirk Drum. General location, the property is located on the east side of Fairview Drive, north of Louisiana Highway 190, and south of Interstate 12, Slidell, Ward 9, District 11. Staff?
Yes, sir. Staff has no additional comments, no objection to the proposed request at this time. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Mr. Deloche. Good evening. Please state your name.
Natasha Swan, speaking for Patrick Deluch, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My fiance acquired the property, and we're just trying to get access to it from the Fairview side, that's all.
Okay. All right. Let's see if anybody has any objection. Anyone in the audience have an objection? Come forward, state your name and address, please.
Good evening to the commission. My name is Joseph Richard. I own 502 Edgewood, which it's a property on both sides of Fairview Drive. It's been the driveway for my property since the 70s when the house was built, and I'm not exactly keen to the idea of a road suddenly being right next to the house, within 40 feet, 20 feet of the pool in the back. And I just have concerns about what's going to happen to the trees and everything that's in that area. My property, is a ditch going to have to be put in and stuff. Am I losing property value because I'm going from just a driveway in the middle of property to now there's going to be a street and just two separate pieces of property. I was working on putting together something to attempt to acquire that from the parish, but obviously Mr. Deloach got to it before me. But yeah, I'm looking for more information. I don't like it. I'm against it, but I'm not trying to start a big fuss against the man.
Okay. You're Mr. Richard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ted, you heard what the gentleman said. Is there a problem? Anything the parish can do to help in this situation?
To kind of speak to it a little bit, so that section is you kind of spoke to it just a second ago, the section is an unopened parish right-of-way that's been platted since the existence of the paper subdivision. So for all intents and purposes, the developer or the petitioner has a right to request the access to that unopened right-of-way to construct the road in accordance with the parish requirements. He also similarly would have a option to attempt to revoke it, but with a case already asking to enter the right-of-way, I don't know how a revocation plays into that, but I can tell you that it will be built to the parish standards.
Right.
There will be a road there with the ditches and requirements in accordance with the parish, but as far as the property itself, it's platted for this use.
Yeah. The only other concern was, like I said, the trees in the area. I know there's a live oak at the end of it, so that's going to have to, I guess, come down. But yeah, I'm just concerned what it's going to do to my property value, and suddenly having a road. Obviously, it's going to end there, and then a driveway will start. But just the opportunity for people to be able to park right there. There's no fence around property now, so I guess I have to put one up. But for just to be right there at the side of the house,
So for something like this, we would require that a turnaround be placed at the end of any dead-end road. That's part of a parish ordinance. You can't just dead-end or, include parking in it. That's not allowed. To speak to property value, I really couldn't tell you. I would consult somebody who handles appraisals and things of that.
Yeah. I understand.
But as regards to that, we would have a turnaround as a requirement. We haven't had any plans yet submitted for this development or for the extension of this road, so I'm unsure what he intends to do exactly as far as the location, the ditches and things like that. And you're speaking to the oak trees, a lot of times when they are beautiful, technically if they're in the right-of-way, they're allowed to be cut down to facilitate the road.
Understood.
However, some developers do attempt to design the road around the oaks to keep the aesthetic features and things of that nature. I don't know the answers to that because none of those plans have been submitted yet, but those are all possibilities.
When those plans do come up, are they going to be presented?
They'll be presented to in accordance with the resolution.
Is it going to be another thing where we can talk about it?
Not to public hearing, but you can do public requests on when they are submitted and if they're submitted. And, I can't tell you when this petitioner will come and put these forward, but you can request in the next month or two, hey, that plan's been submitted, and they would be subject to a public records request for your review.
Oh, the only other thing was how I'm supposed to get to my carport, like when a street's being built.
So your driveway is currently in the right-of-way right now?
Yeah, so where Fairview Drive,
Yes, sir.
where it would be, is a gravel or a shell road that goes to my carport.
Understood.
Like I said, it's been there since the 70s, since the house was built.
Okay.
It's not shown in the original survey, but I can show you that if you need that, or if you need a copy of that.
I can give you my email after this, and you can send me that. But essentially, the developer during the construction is not allowed to hinder access to property, so it would need to be accounted for in his plans that they submit to us. But essentially, that shell road should stay and maintain, and if there's some kind of temporary access that's needed for your property while that is built, that would be a requirement of the plans, because we can't not allow you access to your property.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else wish to speak against? Ma'am, would you like to speak in rebuttal?
The only comment that I can make at this time is that as far as what we're trying to do with the land for access, we want to build our home on the property, but our home would be on the opposite side. It wouldn't be near your home, so you wouldn't have to worry about cars and traffic and stuff like that. It would be just private.
Yeah. Okay, I'd suggest you two get together and exchange names and contact information so that he's aware and you're aware of his concerns.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
I got a question to the staff. What was that right-of-way intended for?
This exact purpose, to construct a road, essentially to give access to the parcels both above, north, and south, as well as to the east of the property.
Thank you.
It's a platted road right-of-way.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Smale.
So can we get a map of where the houses are, where their driveways are? Is there options for this road, or is it just that one spot?
So to my understanding of the area out there, everything currently as it relates to Edgewood and Fairview are already constructed, other than this small section, which is approximately the 60-foot wide by 140-foot wide right-of-way. No one's ever built it because all the other parcels have currently had access to existing roads. As far as the houses and locations, some of that information will be inherent in the engineering plans they're required to submit before we issue the work order for construction of the road, but I can't ask them to, give me a detailed plot plan of every parcel around the property, but the ones associated with the right-of-way will have the information on.
But this right-of-way is intended for a road?
Yes, sir. It's an unopened parish right-of-way intended for construction of a street.
Right there, right in this, right that spot?
And all of the unopened right-of-ways, yes, sir. That's when the paper subdivisions, when there's an unopened right-of-way in the paper subdivision, the intent is for a road there to give access to the platted lots of record.
So could it be moved 10, 20 feet one way or the other? No.
No, sir. No, because private individuals own the land to the north and south. The gentleman that just spoke owns the land to the north and south, from my understanding, and that would be his private property.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Okay. Item 4, case 2022-2775-MSP, a minor subdivision of 13.52 acres into parcels A and B. Owners and representative is Casey Revere and Justin and Ashley Revere. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the parcel is located on the north side of Louisiana Highway 40, west of Anthony Road, Folsom, Ward 2, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two parcels from a 13.52 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to parcel B does not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet required under the A1 suburban zoning district and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission.
Thank you. The Revere's here? Good evening. And you are?
Hi, I'm Casey Revere. I'm the part owner of the property. Again, thank you for your time. What we're trying to accomplish today is me, as well as my brother and sister-in-law, purchased this 13.52 acres. It's actually adjacent to the 14 acres I actually currently live on. And what we're wanting to do is just split it dead in half as much as we can. Obviously, me getting the side going towards my adjacent property and him having the other half. Currently, there is a driveway going through the middle of the property vertically, if you can see on the map. That was kind of the property line we based it on. It got us pretty close to where we wanted for about half to split the property in half. So that's all we're trying to do is, again, just split the property in half as close as we can get it. I get the west side, he gets the east side.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Smale.
Both parcels are over 5 acres. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Smale to approve. Commissioner Willie,
That's with the waiver?
with the waivers, yes.
Second the motion.
Commissioner Smale, that was with the waivers, right? Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mr. Truxillo? The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, the next item is item 5, case numbers 2022-2781-MSP, a minor subdivision of 16.36 acres into parcels A and B. Owner and representative, Kimberly H. Gerald and Kevin Henderson and Keith Henderson. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the parcels located at the southeast end of Henderson Road, south of Godchild Road, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 parcels from a 16.36 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel A does not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet required under the A1 suburban zoning district and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. And I'd like to bring to your attention, if you want to take a look at the survey here, the property, parcel A, is 330 feet wide. However, the portion that is abutting Anderson Road is basically 60 foot wide, and that's the reason for the request for a waiver.
Okay. Thank you. Are the Hendersons here?
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Kimberly Henderson Gerald, and I'm representing my brothers, Kevin Henderson and Keith Henderson as well. We, like the previous case, what we're attempting to do, this property got passed on to us by our deceased parents, and it was passed on to all 3 of our names. So we're trying to split this acreage between myself and my brother, and my other brother is getting their home with the land on it so that we can go to an attorney and finally settle all this. And that's what we want to do. And like the previous case, along with the waiver.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Smale.
And as the case before, both these lots are 5 acres or more, and so I make a motion to approve.
With the waivers, right?
With the waiver, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Willie. Second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you. All right, item 6, 2022-2786-MSP, a minor subdivision of Lot B into lots B1, B2, and B3. Owner and representative, Keith R. and Jane H. Campo. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable T.J. Smith. General location, the parcel is located on the south side of Robert Road, west of Katy and Val Lane, Pearl River, Ward 8, District 14. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels, Lot B1, B2, and B3. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the minor subdivision of the 3 lots is proposed to be accessed from a 35-foot access drive requiring approval from the Planning Commission. Lot B was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in October 2021. The owner is requesting a waiver to construct the 35-foot access servitude and the required drainage prior to building permit being issued on B2 and B3 instead of prior to approval of the plat to allow the owner to start construction on Lot B1 with the understanding that he will have to build his own driveway, and also allowing construction of the private drive up to Lot B3. If you take a look at the survey, the survey is incorrect here because it says B1, B2, and B2. It will have to be corrected for the third lot to B3. But the request is to be allowed to construct the road all the way up to B3 due to the fact that Lot C is not part of this request. So the request shall be subject to the above comments and also items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Okay, thank you. Are the Campos here? Good evening. How are y'all?
Just fine.
Good.
Thank you.
Do you understand everything that staff?
No, that was a mouthful.
We thought we were just subdividing into 3 parcels.
Yeah, but we don't plan on doing the road at this time. We don't plan on building anything
I
on
think that is the waiver. Is that correct? Howard?
That's correct. If you look at the third bullet point, that's the purpose of this request. It will allow you to,
Construct.
if it's approved, it will allow you to record the plat and then to pull a building permit on the first property on B1. And if I'm not mistaken, that's something that we had discussed and that you wanted to request.
Yes, that's correct.
Only one minor change on your thing. It says west of Katy and Val Lane. I believe it's east. If you look at the
That's
plot.
correct. Yeah, that's correct. Sorry about that. I'll make the correction.
So you're gonna handle that administratively?
And the
Helen?
That's it.
and the B3. Yeah.
You're gonna handle that administratively? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the waivers.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve with the waiver. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Willie.
Helen, got a question. That 35-foot servitude, what I'm reading is it goes up to Lot B3. Well, how would they access that Lot C? How they access that Lot C if that's not built all the way to Lot C?
In the event that Lot C wants to be developed, then they'll have to come back forward in front of the Planning Commission and request to extend the road or either, have another road on the other side.
But there is a road on the other side?
The road crosses on both sides. But at this time, because Lot C is owned by someone else, it's difficult for them to impose the construction all the way up to Lot C. In the event, excuse me.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't go all the way up to Lot C, he would have to buy it right away from a private individual in order to get access?
No, he will have to come back. The owner will have to come back in front of the Planning Commission and request to extend the road.
Extend it. Okay. The owner will still be in the area then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Anything else, Bernie? Okay. All right. No further discussion. Please vote.
The motion to approve with the waiver carries.
Mine should have been a yes
Oh,
vote.
okay.
Not that it mattered. I'm turning into Ken Russ. I press yes, I get a no. That's even worse. I press yes, I get a no vote. I get it right.
All right. Next item is item 7. Case number is 2022-2791. MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel EE into parcels EE1, EE2, EE3, and EE4. Owner and representative is Gillis E. and James Cure. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Michael Reno. General location of parcels located on the south side of Brewster Road, east and west of Cure Lane, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 4. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 4 parcels. The minor subdivision request require a public hearing due to minor subdivision of the 4 parcels is proposed to be accessed from a proposed 35-foot access drive requiring approval from the Planning Commission. And parcel EE was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in January 2022. The request shall be subject to the above and below comments number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Shane.
Good evening again. Honorable Commission, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I have the pleasure of representing the owner and petitioner in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Gillis Cure, who are with me this evening on the front row. The case is very simple in many respects in that it takes a 16-acre parcel and requests that you consider amending the existing minor subdivision to create 4 4-acre parcels. A couple of points of interest. We have learned that the parish, through Tammany Utilities, has central water on the south side of Brewster Road. So we're going to be able to run central water to these 4 lots to the rear. In order to do so, we are going to request that we submit a revised amended plat to you that would increase the width of the 35-foot servitude to 55 feet. That 55 feet is needed in order to run the water line to the south. In addition to that, I would mention to you that I'm not sure that I understand the staff comment requesting the calculation of acreage within parcel E4B and E5A. The center line of the servitude would continue to be the common boundary of those 2 lots. And so again, it's not that we are opposed to that comment, I'm just not sure I understand it. So maybe I could ask staff to give me some help as it relates to that comment.
Sure, it is actually part of the regulation that we require that it's identified on the survey, the total acreage of the property with and without the road. I'll be happy to show you in the ordinance or email you a copy of the ordinance if you'd like to.
If we understand then that the idea is to know how much is in the whole lot and then how much is unencumbered. I noticed on the prior minor subdivision plat, we had a table that indicated the area of each lot, and that is not on the plat in front of you. So we understand that comment, and that is another reason we need to submit a revised amended plat to you that would include that information. I think those are essentially all of the comments I have at this time. I don't know if there's others in interest in the audience, but if so, I'll reserve my time to the extent I may need it in rebuttal.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Shea. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this case? Seeing no one, yes, ma'am. You have a speaker card? Please fill out a speaker card, too.
I will, too. Terry Lewis Stevens. I'd just like a point of clarification, only because I saw that this is in Mike Marino's district, does it not? He was advertising on Facebook to everybody who would listen and read that his district has had a moratorium on it for quite some time. Do any of you know about those extents of the moratorium in District 4?
If I'm not mistaken, the moratorium is on development of new subdivisions.
Not.
Minor subdivisions.
And 4 parcels is minor, or?
That's correct. The minor subdivision allows the creation of less than 5 parcels or less.
Okay, good. So it's beneath that. So what about the other ones that came earlier? Same thing? Because now this is like the 3rd that was in his district, correct?
The minor subdivision allows the creation of 5 parcels or less.
Oh, no, I heard that, but I'm saying the other 2 issues that came before this body a few minutes ago, those were also minor subdivisions?
Those were in District 3, in Martha Cosbon's district.
They weren't in Loreno's?
No, ma'am.
None of the other ones were?
Not that we've handled yet so far this evening.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Fill out a speaker card, too. All right, Mr. Shane, I don't believe you have any rebuttal?
No, sir. Let's sit down unless any of you have any.
I got a question for staff. The cul-de-sac size, is that large enough for emergency vehicles?
The engineer's shaking her head, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Both
sir.
of them. Good, we got an agreement then. Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve.
With the waivers?
I don't think they have
Commissioner
waivers.
Randolph. Ron?
I'll second with the waivers as amended.
I don't see a waiver.
No, there's no waivers.
There's no
on that one.
waivers?
No.
Well, is the approval of the request to increase from 35 to 55?
Yeah, with the amended plan.
Yes, with the amended plat.
Yes, we'd like the amended plat. It will include a table that'll show area inside of those two lots that have the servitude running down the middle. We'd also like to show a 55-foot wide servitude from South Brewster to the cul-de-sac, and we'll make sure the cul-de-sac is of sufficient size to meet code.
I take it Tammany Utilities does not furnish wastewater.
Sir?
Tammany Utilities is not furnishing wastewater in this area? Okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
I don't
All right.
think so. No, sir. Just not there.
Okay. Ron, you seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Crawford.
I just had a quick comment. Jeff, we talked about this before, about the drainage of those lots in the back. And at that time, last time when we looked at the front lots, it was decided or discussed that they drain from back to front, which would be south to north, and would ultimately go to the road. I just want to make sure that's the intent.
Yes, sir. In that regard, before this filing, my engineer, Kelly McHugh, met with Mr. Reynolds. The 4 lots along Brewster Road do in fact drain back to front. And we also submitted information, the runoff calculations to Mr. Reynolds indicating that the runoff from the 4 big lots or rear lots, the rate of runoff is actually less after developed than before.
But the direction is from south to north?
No, sir. North to south for the 4 big lots.
And where are they going to drain to?
They will drain to the south. Their elevation is approximately 16 feet, and they go into a swale that is in the abutting subdivision, and then drain west. And the elevation in that abutting subdivision is at 18 feet. We're at 16 feet. So the water is captured and it goes to the west.
Okay. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. No further discussion. Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you. All right, item 8 is 2022-2796. MSP, a minor subdivision of 8.59 acres of land into lots M1 and M2. Owner and representative is Walter Martin. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the parcel located on the north side of Amanda Drive, east of US Highway 25, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 lots, lots M1 and M2. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the minor subdivision of the 2 lots is proposed to be accessed from an existing 60-foot private access drive, of which 20.53 feet a portion is part of the property, requiring approval from the Planning Commission, and also requesting a waiver of Section 125-189, which is the minimum construction standards of a private drive. The request shall be subject to the above comments and also items 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mr. Martin? Good evening.
My name is Walter Morton, and I'm just trying to subdivide the property. Somebody wants to buy 2 acres of the whole parcel, and I'm going to keep the rest.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public. Need Commissioner Truxillo.
Make a motion to approve.
With the waivers, right?
With the waiver.
With waivers, okay. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Smale.
What is the zone, is the zone allow for 2 acres? Helen?
Yes, it does. Any minor subdivision has to meet the zoning requirements before it's allowed to be submitted to the planning commission to be subdivided.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve with the waivers. Please vote.
The motion to approve with a waiver carries.
Thank you. All right, re-subdivision review, item 9, 2022-2770-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 36A, 37A, 38A into lots 36A1 and 38A1, Lakeshore Estates, Marina Villa. Owner and representative is Daniel J. and Ann Sharon DeBlanc. Surveyor J.V. Berkson Associates. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable J. Carey. General location, the property located on the east side of Marina Villa North, north of Marina Villa Boulevard, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 2 lots, 36A1 and 38A1. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approval plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request is subject to item number 1 and 2 listed on the staff report.
Thank you. The Blanc's here? Are the Blanc's here? I don't see anyone, so Commissioner McKinnis, I'm on it. Yep. Okay, if you want to represent them, you're welcome to.
Must have slipped their mind. All they're trying to do is, this was originally 3 lots, they ended up splitting it down, it's just 2 big lots now. So just kind of a simple re-subdivision.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sean. All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McKinnis.
Move to approve, subject to staff comments.
Okay, motion by Commissioner McKinnis to approve per staff comments. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 10, case number 2022-2773-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 16A into lots C1, C2, and 16A2, Money Hill Plantation, owner and representative, Money Hill Plantation LLC, Mary Goodyear Dossert, surveyor is J.V. Berkson Associates, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the property is located at the southeast corner of Louisiana Highway 21 and Money Hill Parkway, Abita Springs, Ward 5, District 6. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 3 lots, C1, C2, 16A2. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approval plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Jeff Shane again of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, and I represent the owner and petitioner of Money Hill Plantation. This is a simple request to create some commercial lots along Highway 21 from the existing lot configuration that we have. We agree with all of the staff comments. I should note that the survey does in fact indicate the boundaries of lot 16A1. It may not have been on the snippet that we submitted to staff, but we can correct that and give them what they need to see in that regard. So as a result of this, we'll have 1 large lot and the 2 small lots that you see along the highway. We also understand the request that we change the lot designations, and we will do so on the amended plat as well. If any of you have any questions or comments, I'll be glad to address them.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
Staff, could you tell me where 16A2 is and 16A1 on the survey? I know my eyesight's not greatest, but,
And this is one of the item that is missing is they're gonna add to the survey a diagram showing how far the boundaries of 16A1 goes. So it'll be a diagram that will be added to the survey. I spoke to this.
but it says it's dividing into C1, C2, and 16A2.
That's right.
But I do not see 16A2.
So basically, 16A2 is below proposed lot C2 and C1. I'll be happy to get up and show you if you'd like.
Could I help, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I might be able to help if I may.
Sure.
Sure. Money Hill Plantation consists of approximately 5,600 acres. Ms. McInnes is very familiar with it. And 1,100 of those 5,600 acres are in the PUD. There are approximately 4,500 acres outside of the PUD. So this particular parcel is the large parcel that hasn't been platted. It's the remainder acreage. It was our error in not indicating where that 16A is located, but it's obviously to the, I shouldn't say obviously, it is to the south of the two lots that are being created. And for lots north of the urban growth boundary line, the code and staff give us the prerogative to indicate the general confines of that lot, and we can do so again on an amended plat. So it's one large parcel at present, and as a result of this request, there will be the two lots that you see along the highway, and the entire remainder will comprise the 16, is it A2?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And I just handed a copy of the previous minor subdivision. I apologize, I should have included that in your packet. You're welcome to pass it around, but it shows the entire parcel 16A1.
Jeff, just curious, is there any plans yet for the lots?
There are. Yeah, there's going to be a commercial development at that location. I'm not at liberty to announce it, but yes, there are actually working plans, and we hope to create some sense of community there that we think will be of benefit not only to Money Hill, but all of the people that live in that region.
Okay, that's all my questions, and I will move to approve, subject to the staff comments and changes to the survey.
Okay, motion by Commissioner McInnes to approve for staff comments. Commissioner Randolph. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 11 is 2022-2782, MRP, re-subdivision of lots 165 and 166 into lots 165A, Whipple Grove on Money Hill, Phase 3. Owner representative is Michael and Edna Brooks. Surveyors Nobles and Associates, LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the property is located on the north side of Turkey Ridge Road, east of Blue Heron Drive, Bush, Louisiana, Ward 5, District 6. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one lot, Lot 165A. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Are the Brooks here? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Michael Brooks. I'm owner of both lots. We would like to get rid of that property line between them. Primarily, we want to put up a steel building back behind the house, and the area where we'd like to put it would straddle that property line.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 12, re-subdivision, excuse me. Item 12 is 2022-2785-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 122A and 123A into lot 123A1, Lakeshore Estates, Phase 1A1. Owner representative is Michael and Maureen Perkins. Surveyors J.V. Burks and Associates. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable J. Carey. General location, the property is located on the north side of Lakeshore Boulevard, east of Lakeshore Boulevard South, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create one lot, Lot 123A-1. The public hearing is required, considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approval plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Are the Perkins here? Mr. Sean Burke.
I'm Sean Burks, representing the owners. This is basically just taking two lots, making one lot. So if you have any questions, we agree with all staff comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. No further discussion, please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, petitions and requests, we moved that one up. Tentative subdivision review, that was 2022-2753, was postponed. And we go over to item 15. Case is 2021-2568-PP, Bontero Subdivision, Phases 2 and 3, developer owner Lynn Levy Land Company, LLC, engineer surveyor J.V. Burks and Associates Incorporated, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Mike Smith. General location, the property is located on the east and west sides of North Military Road, Louisiana Highway 1090, north of Interstate 12, Slidell, Ward 8, District 9. This has been postponed from October 12th, November 9th, December 14th, January 11th, February 8th meeting, and the March 8th meeting. Staff?
Yes, sir. This phase of the development is currently under an active cease and desist notification issued on November 15th, 2021, related to the land clearing within Phase 2 prior to preliminary approval and issuance of a work order. Preliminary approval as well as the issuance of a work order is needed before the active C&D can be rescinded. Preliminary plans and hydraulic studies have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on March 31st, 2022. Staff has no objection to the approval of the proposed preliminary subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with all items and no work order to be issued until the required items are satisfactorily completed and submitted. Additionally, no funded maintenance obligation for the subdivision connection is required. Since the subdivision is connecting to a state-maintained highway, mandatory developmental impact fees will be required at final approval in accordance with St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, since no hearing was held prior to January 1, 2005. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening, Honorable Commission. For the record, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing Lynn Levy Land Company, the owner and petitioner. And I'm proud to bring the case before you this evening after many months of postponement. But hopefully you can see that the fruition of the postponement in great part was waiting for third party, namely DOTD, approval of our traffic plan and issuance of the driveway permit. It also allowed us, however, to complete each and every item that had previously been requested on the staff reports that began back in October of 2021. For those of you that might remember those staff reports initially, there was a considerable number of items that required attention. And so through the course of the last 4 to 6 months, as we worked with DOTD on the traffic issue, we were also able to resolve each and every issue with staff, resulting in what I believe to be a very ultra-clean staff report before you this evening. Let me touch base on a couple of items that should be specific and brought to your recollection. You know that the standard of review for preliminary subdivision is to determine whether or not the applicant has submitted the necessary plan specifications and other materials to staff to allow the petitioner to move forward with the construction of phases 2 and 3. So in doing that, you submit obviously a variety of documents, be it sewer and water, road, shoulder, ditch, drainage. In this case, because of our access on Military Road, which is a state highway, not only did we get a DOTD concurrence letter with regard to our plan, but also we actually physically have the issued driveway permit from the state as it relates to making all of the lane improvements. Those would be northbound and southbound turn lanes, not only at the entrance to our subdivision, but also to Crawford Landing as well. So although the staff report might be clean in some respects, I want to bring to your attention the many things that have been done in that regard. I might also add, I think, importantly, that since we've had an active hearing with you in terms of discussion about Bontero, we held a community meeting at the request of Councilman Smith a few months ago in Slidell to discuss the project. My suspicion is that some of those in attendance this evening will want to share with you issues with regard to land use, namely the zoning, the number of lots, and things of that nature. And although that's not technically before you this evening, I think it would be good for me to remind you of the history of Bontero. So Bontero was initially filed in October of 2019. And at that time, the property was zoned A5, which is multifamily, and which would have produced a yield of approximately 500 multifamily units. We sought an A4A and PUD designation for a single-family residential subdivision only, pursuant to a PUD plan that initially had 225 lots on it. The council actually affirmed the zoning commission recommendation on January 16th of 2020. So over 2 years ago, the land use issue in terms of what can be done on this property and how many lots was essentially resolved after going through the process. We did, however, come back later with an amendment to the PUD wherein we created some additional green space on the other side of Military Road, approximately 7 acres, which is still all green space. We did increase the lot count from 225 to 233, and we made a few other adjustments as well. That was in August of 2020. That was a unanimous approval to the major amendment by the Zoning Commission, to which there was no appeal. So since that time, we have built out Phase 1A, and which is on your docket this evening for final approval. But because of the significance of the punch list, my client agreed with my recommendation that we wait and work on that punch list and not present Phase 1A to you this evening for final. With regard to Phases 2 and 3, we would like to proceed with construction of the subdivision. And again, in light of the third-party approvals that we've procured, as well as the submissions that we've made to staff resulting in the staff report that I've discussed already, we respectfully request that you grant preliminary subdivision approval this evening. With that having been said, I'll reserve any remaining time for rebuttal and be glad to answer any questions that any of you may have later in the evening at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shane. All right, I have a card here on Darren Bourgeois. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Darren Bourgeois. I live at 60234 Jacob Road. My wife and I purchased property to the west of the Bontero development. I have for you enlarged copies of the Hydrix map, which shows the water flow of this property. This was done in April of 2020. Since we purchased the property in 2020, we have learned many things. One of the things that we learned that the green space, which at one time bordered our property, was removed in lieu of a parcel of land across the street from Military Road, which I believe is an congruous piece of property across the street. We've also learned from the spring rains of last year that our pond takes a tremendous amount of water into it, as well as there's a tremendous amount of water that drains from the backside of my property into the Bontero property. As a matter of fact, my pond overflows, and its only source of exit is in this corner where it drains into the Bontero development. Under the initial plans, when this Hydrix map was constructed, there were lots number, if you see at the upper part of the page, there's the pond size, 722 feet. That's my property line. And you can see clearly that the topography map clearly shows how the land slopes into the Bontero development, and lots 80, 81, 82, and 83. In order for those homes to be built, there would have to be a significant amount of fill that would need to be put into that, which would in turn impede the natural drainage that comes from my property. I've also learned with the April, May, June, and Hurricane Ida that not only does my pond overflow at the corner, it overflows on the northern side. And I hope I presented to the planning department and the engineer some videos. I'm hopeful that you guys were able to take a look at those videos to see the amount of water. There's a significant amount of water that drains from my property into the Bontero development. So my concern is that as planned, I know the plans have changed somewhat since this Hydrix map was done. It would be lots 83, 84, and 85 at this point would need a significant amount of fill to be added in order to put homes there. And I'm concerned for the safety, welfare, and health of my family because of this project. Not only would those lots impede the natural drainage, but the street itself and the lots across the street, south of the street, would impede the natural water flow. I'm going to yield my time to my neighbors. They have some additional information that they would like to present to you as well. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate your consideration to
Thank you.
Stop the fill and stop the natural drainage, please.
All right, Suzanne Bourgeois. I don't wish to speak. Okay. Sandra Williams. Pardon? Okay. Stan Owen?
Thank you very much. My name is Stanford Owen, 117 Shermack Drive, Slidell. And I'll try and confine this to 180 seconds. Real quick before I start my clock, how many of you who have not been on Military Road? Have never been on Military Road? Everybody has. Okay. The group I'm representing is a large group of people that was at the meeting, probably 150 people or so. And we've had larger meetings than that on this subdivision. I want to cover 5 topics that I think are vital, not just to this subdivision, but to every other development in the parish. It's what prompted Mike Smith's moratorium, and it's also what prompted the general moratorium by President Cooper. To this specific project, we would not be here if the trees had not been clear-cut. Number one, I want to ask you to utilize, which your staff may not even be aware of, the scenic overlay that when I was police juror for this district back in the 80s with Barry Baggert, was implemented. Working with the DA next door, I could not find any reference that this scenic overlay was remanded or rejected or made obsolete. Nowhere in any document that we could find. It requires a 100-foot buffer of no cut from the center line of Military Road to the property adjacent to it. We'd like to see that 100-foot buffer restored. Personally, it can be anything thick, and it doesn't have to necessarily be expensive. If you disagree with the fact that the scenic overlay is not in place, I would like you to notify us in writing that it was redacted or remitted. Number two, again, we would not be here if the trees had not been clear-cut. On phase 1, the regulations state clearly that a live oak with a 10-inch diameter should not be cut without permission. The land was clear-cut. On the remaining land that's still available to assess, we found 8 to 10 live oaks that fit that criteria, and we found 1 to 2 meeting the 20-inch criteria. So none of those should have been cut. We would like to ask this body, if not your authority, then refer it to the council to have those trees replanted. They are replantable. I've talked to the largest developer in the parish, who is one of the largest landscapers in the country, and he can do this quite easily in a short period of time. Secondly, a lot of the trees on phase 2 and 3, which are not approved and were done illegally, we ask that those be replanted. We also ask that a fine go along with that because they should not have been cut. The importance of that is, if they get forgiveness of this, then every other developer in the parish goes, okay, all I have to do is ask forgiveness. If you make them replant it, I can promise you no other developer in the parish will ever do that again. Period. And that's on phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 2, I ask a fine go with it so that it has some teeth. The green space that was approved, and according to the video that we viewed of this group, several major concerns about the 6 acres across Military Road. If you're not familiar with Military Road, it's a major highway. No one in their right mind would ever try and walk across to this green space. And Councilman Smith has made it very clear he will not allow the parish to develop this green space into anything usable. He feels it's too dangerous and would not be of any benefit to the parish. I would ask that you take this green space out of the approval for phase 2 and 3 and put it back onto the other side of the road. We calculate that you need 5.5 more acres on the phase 1, 2, and 3 to satisfy the green space requirements, if you do decide to do that. And it does have to have a hearing if you do that as well. Another thing which was not looked at by the staff that we can tell is that this property empties directly into Gum Bayou, which is part of the Pearl River system. The Pearl River is a state scenic river. It has some regulations requiring developments emptying directly impacting a state scenic river. Gum Bayou is not only part of that river system, it was the first and largest eco-tourist business in St. Tammany Parish, and still is a pretty big business that goes right by the subdivision down Crow's Landing Road. So if you look from a satellite photo, you'll see that the swamp in Gum Bayou is dying right next to this subdivision where there's been effluent from Tammany utilities. And I think that at the very least, because of the damage that's obviously occurring, at least from space, that this be looked at as not just a state scenic river, but also the Pearl River National Wildlife Refuge. National wildlife refuges have specific regulations about dumping either runoff water or effluent into their system. I haven't seen any discussion of this at all. I would at least ask you delay until you look at that to see if there's any rules or regulations that are necessarily fulfilled. And then finally, the roads. We have no issues. I ordered and paid for and acquired, and we've reviewed the ingress and egress, which has nothing to do with the traffic problem that's going to be created on Military Road by the subdivision. There are 2 major intersections upstream to the north and 4 major intersections to the south. The state DOTD House Committee has stated that with a request by the St. Tammany Parish government, they can do a emergency expedited review if they feel it's to the safety and welfare of the population. The parish council has to ask for that. The state will act on that in an emergent fashion. So we ask that you allow them to consider asking DOT for that, because it's already a bad traffic jam. It's actually fairly easily fixable. For fun, I studied traffic and logistics. This is not hard to fix, and it would not be that terribly, horribly expensive. So I want you to seriously consider this, because it doesn't just impact this subdivision. It impacts every development going on in St. Tammany, and the reason for the moratorium, which we support Mike Smith on and support the parish moratorium, to look at these same exact issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Time has expired, but I will allow Andrew Benson 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
That's quick. I'm Dr. Andy Benson, number 6 Log Cabin Lane, Pearl River. Before I get into what I had planned to get into, I want to mention something about Mr. Bourgeois' talk earlier. He left out something, and his property, as you recall, drains into the Bontero subdivision as well as that of his neighbors. Everything along Jacob Road, to which his property fronts, as well as his neighbors on both sides of Jacob Road, and all of that land, as far as I-59 to the west and I-10 to the south, drains across his property into his pond and thence into Bontero. So alleviation of the problem that he brought up is critical. Now I'm down to 1 minute and 17 seconds, so I've digressed there. I wanted to talk about the roads. Going back to October of 2019, that's the first time anything that I saw was dated regarding the construction of the roads, and it called for 4,000 PSI reinforced, steel reinforced concrete on a 4 to 6 inch aggregate base with a non-woven fibrous vapor barrier on top of packed soil. That's what was called for. Now that was mentioned first on October 19th, I believe it was, or October 20th of 2019. That was mentioned again subsequent to that, and again and again and again, and that was mentioned when the first preliminary approval occurred on August 4th, and then was revised and reviewed in later August of 2020, still showing concrete roads. And I did bring this up to Mr. Liner, and he was kind enough to give me a very good answer. I'd like a few more seconds if I can have it.
I'll let you go for just a few minutes.
Okay, good, thanks. He was very good, and he gave a very concise and honest answer. And I'm not questioning the honesty of anybody, but I am questioning the process. The roads changed from expensive 4,000 PSI steel reinforced concrete, which has a 50-year life expectancy, maybe longer, in a subdivision like this, to asphalt, to an asphalt veneer road. And as far as the underlay of that, I don't know, because I don't know what the borings have showed. There was a geotechnical analysis that was done and a report that was administered in September of 2020. And Mr. Lina explained that to me. And the Department of Planning had the authority to administratively allow the developer to change from concrete roads, which were very, very expensive, to a much, much cheaper asphalt road. Now, the subdivision street allowance, their rules, that is Article 3, Section 125-60, open bracket 8, that allows that. But here's the catch. The PUD rules, which are clearly explained in Section 130, 1674, open bracket D, close bracket, are different. And a PUD is on top of a subdivision, so these supersede the subdivision rules. And it's called the binding nature approval of a PUD. All terms, conditions, safeguards, and stipulations made at the time of approval for a PUD shall be binding upon the applicant and any successors in interest. Deviation from the approved plans, blah, 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 are in violation of the zoning regulations. None of this appeared in staff reports. None of this turned up. None of it was mentioned. There was no mention of this change until March of 2021 in a staff report. But staff never approved it, and neither did the commission. And it was also a major amendment. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Major amendments go to the commission.
All right. Ms. Stevens, you didn't mark whether you wanted to speak or not. Terry Stevens.
Oh, no. She said no.
Okay. All right. All right. You're out of time.
She can have time in rebuttal. She can have time in rebuttal.
You can have time in rebuttal, yeah. Okay. We'll go to the petitioner first, and then we'll go to you. You got 5 minutes on rebuttal. Mr. Shane had some time left, so.
Yes, so how much time? I think I had about 4.5 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So I will try to respond to all of the main items, issues that were raised this evening. And first, I guess, with regard to Mr. Bourgeois, the first speaker who owns the property to the west of the subdivision. When I gave you the timeline earlier, you may have noted that all of the land use approvals were in fact procured apparently before he purchased the property. In fact, we worked with his predecessor, Miss Vicki Pruitt, in working out the zoning and PUD approval. But I guess maybe most importantly, any reallocation of green space along the common boundary line was done through a major amendment to the PUD and through a public process that you approved and in fact was not appealed. It did not go to the council. So I feel that not only has this process been transparent, but these issues were specifically addressed, pondered by you, and interestingly, we had little, if no, opposition for many of the initial hearings as it relates to Bontero. That doesn't mean that their voices this evening aren't important, but I think it is important to note that a lot of these decisions, if you will, were made previously without objection. Now let's talk in particular, though, about the suggestion that Mr. Bourgeois' water on his property may come to the east onto Bontero, and how do we intend to address that? If you'll take a look at the staff comments under informational items, and if you'll go to the next to last paragraph, I'm not sure if it was read in the staff comments or not, I may have been daydreaming, but that paragraph specifically addresses Mr. Bourgeois' concern. This is something we've known about for 6 months. We've had meetings with Mr. Bourgeois, my engineer, Mr. Burks. We've also had I shouldn't say countless, but numerous meetings with staff, and most recently suggested to staff, and let me be clear, all of the water from Mr. Bourgeois' property that currently goes to the east will continue to be accepted by Bontero and will be allowed to flow through our pond, meeting all of your regulations. If you look at that paragraph, you'll also note that the developer has agreed to install an 8-inch subsurface drainage line to the common property line, and it will have a check valve on it. Because there was also a concern raised, well, what if Pearl River and Gum Bayou raise and the water backs up through the detention pond? Are we going to back water onto Mr. Bourgeois' property through this conduit? Obviously, that will not be the case. And I might add that the pipe and this servitude is in fact going to be a public servitude in the northwest corner of the subdivision. So at the end of the day, we respect Mr. Bourgeois' concerns about him not being able to continue to enjoy the natural drain rights that he has for certain waters on his property that go to the east. Not all of the waters on his property go to the east. Some of those waters go to the west and ultimately go to the south along the north side of the interstate right-of-way. With regard to Mr. Owen's comments, I know that you're aware of this, but I mean, the moratorium that Mr. Smith seeks to enforce has no relevance or no impact as it relates to this case. And in fact, I mean, there's no moratorium prohibition with regard to Bontero whatsoever. I think all of you are aware that we do not have any single-family residential moratorium that's been imposed by the council. But if in fact they opt to do so at their May meeting, it would not impact these cases that were in the pipeline, that have received approvals, that are under construction, and are trying to work their way toward final. With regard to the scenic overlay comment along Military Road, I certainly would not know the history as well as Mr. Owen, but I can only suggest to you that we investigated that when we started the project. We did not believe that it was applicable. Staff never brought that to our attention. And quite frankly, that area along Military Road is not within phases 2 and 3 that are before you this evening. Technically, that is phase 1 and phase 1A. But again, we don't believe that we have breached any of the obligations that the parish may have in play along Military Road. With regard to the clearing of trees, essentially your current residential development ordinances allow for the removal of virtually all trees unless they're protected. I want you to know that in this project, we procured a clearing permit from the parish, and that's only procured after you submit a clearing plan. And I don't know who from staff walked the property, and staff can correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think that someone from staff always goes out and looks at the property before the clearing permit is issued to make sure that if there are species that have been identified on the plan that need to be protected, they would be protected. So I'm at a loss to tell you as to whether or not any protected trees were lost that should have been kept. I can't tell you that I know that, but I can tell you definitively that we did this pursuant to the rules and ordinances of St. Tammany Parish as it relates to the issuance of the permit. Now, I'm not suggesting that some of the clearing did not go beyond phase 1 into phases 2 and 3. Staff has noted that in the report. There was some clearing that went a little too far. We were notified. We immediately ceased and desisted, and we, of course, have not done any clearing since then. But I would likewise say that with regard to any clearing in phases 2 and 3, the same rules are in play. We understand what we have to do as it relates to clearing that property, and anything that staff reasonably requires us to do before we clear anything in phases 2 and 3, we certainly will do so. With regard to the green space across the highway, we couldn't agree any more that that green space should not be active green space, and it is not suggested to be so. And in fact, in working with staff, based on the comments of staff, take a look, if you will, at your preliminary subdivision plat. Sort of right in the center of the page, you'll see the inclusion of Note 3, which I will try to read. Only passive, quote, no active, end quote, green space, no construction or no excavation, no improvements can be implemented. So there's a restriction that is placed on that 7 acres, again, across the street, so that it will not become an attractive nuisance for people to want to walk or bicycle or whatever across the highway. And that property probably will always remain green, although the parish has expressed some interest, at least they did months ago, about the possibility of acquiring some portion of it for a utility site, not for this development, but for its utility needs, because there are lacking infrastructure needs as to sewer and water in the Military Road corridor, and that was something that the parish had talked to us about. With regard to the overall drainage plan, certainly the ultimate disposal is through Gum Bayou to the Pearl River. I can only tell you that our drainage study was incredibly detailed. It was reviewed extensively by staff. There were numerous comments made, and we, of course, believe that we have presented a plan that not only meets your ordinance, but also gives us an assurance that the drainage, in fact, will work, and certainly not just work for the residents of Bontero, but will not create any negative impacts for those that live in the area. Last but not least, with regard to the comments about traffic, I can only say that of all the years that I have brought projects before you for preliminary subdivision approval, I really don't know that I can remember more than a few where I literally held the driveway permit in hand, having been issued by LADOTD, before I even got preliminary subdivision approval. So what is that suggestive of? It's suggestive that not only was my traffic study submitted to your staff for review and consideration to make sure they thought it worked, but because our access is to a state highway, the state graded the paper extremely difficult. They're aware of the problems on Military Road. They're aware of the problems at other intersections to the north and south. They not only issued a letter of concurrence with the traffic plan and the mitigation improvements, they have physically issued the permit, which we have tendered to staff and which they have reviewed. At the end of the day, preliminary subdivision approval is all about us checking the boxes that your ordinance requires. We believe we've checked the boxes.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Ms. Williams.
Mr. Doherty, you put it back on there too, please.
Pardon?
I said put her back on.
Okay. 5 minutes for the side.
Real quick rebuttal. Mr. Shane has affirmed everything I told you already, exactly. The moratorium does not have anything to do with the subdivision, except this subdivision induced the moratorium or moratoriums that have come forth. The tree issue, you'll have to look at your own staff reports. It doesn't really matter. The tree issue is the tree issue. They were not properly cut. They should be replanted. And he reaffirmed that the issue going into Gum Bayou is now maybe being considered for utility plant into a state scenic river and national wildlife refuge that is already in peril. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Williams.
Sandra Williams. I live at 200 Branch Road, Slidell, Louisiana. The issue that I want to bring tonight, I had several, but since we're on time, I want to talk about green space. And like Mr. Shane said, they did have a meeting. And at that meeting, I personally tried to tell them that they didn't have enough green space. I don't know if you have a map in front of you, but if you did, you would notice that in the detention pond, they wanted to use half of the detention pond for kayaking. However, Section 2428, no trespassing in parish detention ponds and/or levees. It's prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person to be upon, within, or around any parish-owned detention pond or levee. That simply removes 3.23 acres from their green space. There is also a pedestal in the middle of that pond because that was an area that land was taken to build the interstate. And there is a pedestal. They should lose another 1.35 acres of those land because they're not allowed on it. In addition, they should also lose another parking space, that's 0.86. So for a total of 5.44 acres that they are missing. And when you have a major amendment, which less than 25% of green space makes this a major amendment, you are required to go by Section 130-1675, Amendment to the Planned Unit Development. If they have a cumulative reduction in the total of the originally approved overall acreage of open space by more than 5% and/or below the minimum of 25% of the required open space, they not only have to come back and redesign it, they have to come back and have a hearing again. Thank you. I have some other issues, but I don't want to take the time.
Mr. Bourgeois.
Okay, in regards to Mr. Shane's comment about the drainage from Jacob Road going west as well as going south, I want to thank Mr. Daniel Hill for his due diligence in researching the drainage along Jacob Road, and I did submit to you a letter written to me by email by Mr. Hill stating that there is no place for the water to go on Jacob Road. There are some high spots on either side of Jacob Road, and I didn't mention this earlier, but Mr. Borges's pond, which is to the west of me, dumps into Jacob Road underneath the street, and which in turn dumps into my pond. My pond rose 3 feet. Its only source of exit is at the northwest corner into the Bontero development. That much more I would have got water in my house. I'm begging you. The topography map tells the story. I supplied you with the topography map. It clearly shows there's a tremendous amount of water that flows from my property into the Bontero development. Excuse me, I'm nervous. I'm fearful. And it's not, these are facts I'm presenting to you. I provided video evidence that proves what I'm saying. I beg you to please look at the video that I submitted to the Planning Commission and Engineering Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Stevens.
We're doing a couple more minutes, and then Mr. Shane has a couple more minutes.
You've got 39 seconds.
Same person, Andy Benson, number 6 Log Cabin Lane. I was talking earlier about the change from concrete streets to asphalt streets. I am not making an allegation that anything illegal was done. I'm happy with, I mean, I don't think everybody here, I think, is a good public servant. My problem is that to make that change for that amount of money, even though that specific change isn't specified, it's a major amendment in the PUD. That requires that the council meet, that requires that it be public notification, and that's the way it is. You can't get past that. Thank you.
Can we do that? Change a couple more minutes?
I'll give you a couple minutes.
Thank you.
She's asking if you're going to give both sides a couple minutes.
Yeah.
She's changing it.
Chairman.
Yeah, we've done this before, many times, and I'll be quick. Let's talk about a tree survey. There will be a tree survey they should have done at the beginning of the project to determine which trees should not have been cut down, so that should be researched, and then you'll know what was there and what is no longer there. That's an easy one. matter of people not showing up in the past about projects like this. This happens all the time. This is why I'm here today, is because that BS happened in my neighborhood. The sign got blown down as quickly as it was put up, and all staff has to do is post a sign, take a picture, and if it blows down in a hurricane, which is what happened to the one in my neighborhood, they have a record that it was done. So that people don't show up that's just not a fair claim. How many of you, I know Mr. Barcelona is an engineer, but how many of the rest of you are engineers, architects, landscape architects? Anybody? That's great. So there's 2. Mistakes get made. Mistakes get made in planning. Mistakes get made in zoning. Mistakes are made on almost every construction project every day. I mean, there are whole buildings that collapse because mistakes are made. You're not held accountable to those mistakes having been made, but they were. They were made in clearing here, and maybe staff did go out, and maybe they went out the day after too much was cleared. And they said, whoa, that's the problem. But all you can do is cease and desist, because we don't have a penalty that can be assessed, and that's a problem. We need to work on that, Ross Liner. So mistakes are made, but these people shouldn't be penalized, and the future users shouldn't be penalized. But I'll quickly get right to green space. What's the purpose of green space? It's to lessen density in a subdivision layout so that there's recreation space for the people who live there, so they're not right on top of one another. To allow, I don't care how it happened, to allow 5 acres of the green space to be across the road is ridiculous. That's not fair to these people, and it should not be allowed. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff, you want 2 minutes?
Yes, sir, I would. I appreciate it. I don't think it's necessary for me to be redundant with the things I've said, but I do think what's important as it relates to drainage, whether it's Gum Bayou or the water coming off of Mr. Bourgeois' property from the east, whether it's traffic on Military Road, whether it's scenic corridor consideration, whether it's the type of construction of the road, meaning from concrete to asphalt, whether it's the clearing permit or the types of trees that may have been removed, or whether it's green space. Don't you find it interesting after 6-7 months of being on your docket that none of those items are written up by staff on the staff report? Don't we think if those of you that I assume save your staff reports or keep them to some extent, and maybe when you know a case like this is coming up tonight, you might look back to see where we started on this project. My point is that I don't know what more the developer can do but to follow the ordinance, make submissions, make corrections and changes as requested, and ultimately get the approval of all parties that it needs to have approvals from. We didn't talk about some of the approvals that we've gotten with regard to water quality and some of the other things, but we've submitted those letters as well. So I would only ask you that if you have serious concerns about some of these issues, please make sure you ask staff this evening in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. All right. Time's been expired both for initial presentation and rebuttal, so I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxella.
Well, I have a few questions for staff. First, give me the definition of green space.
Definition of a green space and a no-cut buffer. A green space is to remain green, so it does not prohibit the removal of trees.
So with that definition, so is a pond considered green space?
I'm sorry.
Are you referring to open space in a PUD?
Yes, green space.
50% of the open space of a PUD can be inundated. So a PUD has to have 25% open space And of that 25%, no more than 50% of it can be inundated more than 4 months of the year.
Okay. Question number 2. Once this subdivision is built, the maintenance of the streets, is that a parish or is this the HOA?
The maintenance of the street and the infrastructure will be the parish.
The cost of maintaining cement street versus blacktop or streets, is it comparable?
Not at all, no, sir. Just like they made reference to the costlier street to install it, it's also costlier to maintain concrete as versus asphalt is cheaper to install and cheaper to maintain.
Okay.
There's pros and cons with both of them, yes, sir.
Those are technical questions I need answers. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smale.
Yeah, to follow up on Commissioner Truxillo, so a concrete street might be more expensive to maintain, but it's going to last how much longer than asphalt?
The typical design lives for concrete versus asphalt that you see used in industry practices right now is concrete roads are designed for 30-year life cycle. That's not to say or suggest they can't last longer or shorter, but that is the design life of them versus asphalt is a typical life design style of 20 years. Yet again, not to say they can't last longer or shorter, but that is what's utilized in a lot of the geotechnical reports received and submitted.
So 30 years versus 20 years?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Quick question for Mr. Shane. The name change, the name was originally Military Ridge, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And why was it changed to Bontero?
A variety of reasons, but essentially the preference of the developer. We thought it was more appropriate.
And who's the builder going to be on phase 1? Who's going to build the houses?
That's has not been determined yet in terms of being publicly released.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shane.
The developer is Lynn Levy Land Company, but in terms of who will actually build the lots, I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Why not? Why is that a secret?
Because of a confidentiality provision.
Okay.
And that's not uncommon. There are a lot of times the prospective.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
I'm going to finish. I'm not, as long as there are people laughing, I'm not going to talk, because I'm not going to laugh when they're talking. And my point is simply this. It's usually believed that the identity of the builder is not relevant as long as that builder, of course, is going to meet all of the codes and requirements. So in order to remove usually a lot of fanfare about what color is the house going to be and what floor plan are you going to use, it's become, I'd say, more often the norm that that's just kept confidential.
Okay, thank you. And so I do have other concerns. I mean, the green space is not in the subdivision. I mean, come on, it's just not. It's not helping the subdivision be less dense. The green space is across Military Road. So it's not helping this subdivision be less dense, in my opinion. You know, a name change, green space changes, buffer changes, the roads changed. We got drainage issues. Traffic issues, over clear cutting. Phase 2 and phase 3 were basically at least half of them have been clear cutted already. So I think that to send a message that shouldn't be done, and because of all these other issues, I make a motion to deny.
And I just wanted to point out that green space calculation, that's part of the zoning decision that was done at the time of PUD approval. And I know you weren't sitting as a zoning commissioner at the time that this came through,
Correct.
and I think 2021 as a major amendment, but that is not subject to tonight's subdivision review. I just want to make sure that
I'm
we
not
were
trying
clear
to
on that.
change the green space. I'm just making a statement that the green space, to me, is not in the subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smale to deny. Commissioner McInnes.
I know, though, that we can talk about drainage and traffic tonight. And from the very beginning, I had drainage concerns about this subdivision. I commented on Jacob Road and where was the water going to go. I commented on how the Pearl River floods regularly, as we all know, and when your drainage is in a short tributary to the Pearl, what's going to happen when that water backs up? It's not going to drain. So you could say you're going to allow Jacob Drive to drain into your subdivision, but what are you going to do when your subdivision's draining towards them? I do feel we can talk about green space in the fact that it allows absorption of rainwater. It's part of the hydrology. And I brought up earlier about how many lots have some steep topography. Almost all the lots around the lake have a very steep drop-off, and it's going to require a lot of fill. There's some lots that it says 16 feet of fill. And to me, that is definitely impeding a drainage when you have to have that much fill. So I just do not see that my concerns have been addressed. And I will say that, yes, you've done a hydrologic study, but we're doing those for the 100-year flood event. And I think we all know that that happens fairly regularly. And one of my main concerns is we set up innocent people to flood. It's just not what a good government should do. We should not set people up to flood. And the fill you're going to put in is that red clay that doesn't absorb. So we're not helping the situation, and we're setting up innocent people to then look to government to say, fix it. So we're going to just make it more costly for ourselves. I had just become a commissioner when we voted on that amendment that Emily mentioned to add allow the green space across the road. And part of me thought, oh, well, this is right next to this very scenic Gum Bayou. Gum Bayou is just unbelievably beautiful. And if you've never been on a Honey Island Swamp tour, you've missed out. And there's, thousands and thousands of people that come from New Orleans to go down Crawford Landing Drive to see this beautiful bayou in the river. But I distinctly recall that we were told that there would be some sort of recreational use of that green space, that green space was going to have a canoe launch or a pier or something, a little trail. So we were told it was going to be usable green space, and now all of a sudden it's passive and no access allowed. So I really think we need to reconsider a vote on this, because that was not what we were told, and that was what sold me to vote in favor of that amendment. So I'm concerned about that. I think this subdivision is not been well designed from the get-go, and I second the motion to deny.
Thank you. Commissioner Crawford.
Okay, a couple of questions. First, I agree with Commissioner McInnes about the green space and about the change in passive versus active. I'd just like to say that I'd like to see this redone. I'd like to see the green space be contained within this development. I know that's not on the table tonight. I probably voted in approval of it before, and I think that was a mistake on my part for the reasons that Ms. McInnes listed. But I really believe this is turning out to be a development where we shouldn't expect people to go across the street to visit green space. It should be inside this development. But that's not on the table tonight. So my questions are, for staff to start, the scenic overlay, this 100-foot scenic overlay, does anybody know anything about that? This was the, if you would, please come mention again what you were talking about.
So we passed this in the late 80s. As far as I knew, until we started looking into this subdivision, I thought it was still in place because all of the properties down Gauze East and even Military Road have pretty much complied with our our buffers and landscaping and wooding and so forth. I had to come to the DA's office. Nobody in the council really knew, so I had to come to the DA office, find the ordinances. I gave them to Mike Smith, who has them. Then I looked everywhere for redaction of those ordinances, and I can't find it. I was told that maybe it was overlooked in 2011 when the comprehensive rezoning was done. Can't find it. But it's part of this. It's not only a parish ordinance, it's a scenic overlay on a state highway. The state has to rule on it. As far as I'm concerned, and the staff can look at this and talk with the DA and maybe Mr. Smith, or we can get you the copies of the ordinances, which are kind of irrelevant to this discussion, but they're not redacted. They're still in place. So that, if they are in place, a 100-foot buffer is required.
Okay. So staff, do we know anything about that at this point? Mr. Shane, you want to add something to that?
I'd be glad to. I don't believe that there's a state scenic overlay. If there were, DOTD would not have granted the permit and allowed the access points and they're looking at the development along phase one. Okay. And I would also suggest to you that if you look at the, I think it's 2009 comprehensive rezoning plan, that's the answer to the question. If that overlay is not on the plan and it's not part of our law. I'm not suggesting it wasn't there in the 80s or 90s. I'm only saying that when we comprehensively rezoned the parish in 09, and correct me if that's the wrong date, but I think that's correct, we rezoned every square inch of this parish. Some of the property retained its current zoning, might have had a different nomenclature, but that is the Bible, if you will. And there is no designation of scenic overlay. Now, staff may know of something that I'm not aware of, but we've looked into this before.
Okay.
And if I can just add, Councilman Mike Smith has asked me to look into this as well.
Okay.
And I did determine that that stretch of Old Military is designated as a scenic byway under Louisiana's revised statutes. However, I couldn't find any protection or any kind of no-cut area that's related to its designation as a scenic byway.
Okay. Okay, but it was researched.
If I may add, there was a stipulation under Ordinance 523 before we adopted the Unified Development Code that referred to the scenic corridor. However, it has not been adopted with the UDC.
So the UDC superseded it, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Regarding the
One point to that, it was kept intact in Highway 22 to Covington, and it should have been kept intact for Military Road.
That's a fact. It's intact on Highway 21. However, it was
21.
not voted to be renewed on Military Road.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like we've got an answer on that now. Regarding trees being cut, does the staff feel like anything was violated as far as tree cutting?
I have not visited the site personally. However, if the 25-foot no-cut buffer that is indicated on the plan was cut, then it appears that there's a violation of the plan.
Sounds like we need to investigate that. We need somebody to go out and determine if that took place or not. Is that doable?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Let's see. The cease and desist order, is that still in effect right now? And,
Yes.
and that will be lifted how or when or?
The two mechanisms for that cease and desist being lifted are either preliminary approval of this subdivision, which would authorize construction in that area and for trees to be removed. If this subdivision were to, I guess you would say, it wouldn't receive preliminary approval, and this section would not be developed, then it would be a code enforcement action and the appropriate actions for our code for clearing land.
Okay.
Anything else, Phil?
Yes, I'm still working on it. Mr. Smale was just bringing up, do we have large oak trees still on the property that haven't been cut?
I'm not aware if we had a tree survey from the get-go, so.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. I have a question for Mr. Burks.
Yes, there's portions that have not been cut, and yes, you can go look at the oak trees yourself. And if you want to go to space and look at it from space before it was cut, you can also analyze it that way extremely accurately. And the people at NASA right next door are willing to do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Jeff, I'd like to ask some questions about drainage. So I don't know if you want to answer them or Mr. Burks?
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Crawford, I feel like we kind of have an open forum.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to govern myself accordingly. If you tell me to sit down, I'm going to sit down. But you got to understand, it's frustrating when we're asked to give our comments and only responses if we're asked, yet I have people come to the podium continuing, some of that information I might disagree with.
Well, I'm trying to get clarification on a number of items.
Yes, sir, I understand
now-
that, but I think some of the speakers have taken it upon themselves
have.
to come to the podium and have not asked to be recognized by you or them.
They have, and that's correct.
Okay.
No, hold on. So now drainage questions, you want me to address that to Mr. Burks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sean? I'm just curious about the drainage from Mr. Bourgeois' property, and it's coming through this 0.66 acre area, I
Yes.
guess, and you've got a wing wall there with, is it a 42-inch in there? 42-inch pipe?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so your calculations have taken into account all of the surrounding property. What is that? Is that a northwest corner?
Yes.
Is that, okay, so you've taken into account the runoff, the existing runoff, and anticipated runoff of all the surrounding neighbors, if you will,
Yes.
that drain into that area.
Yes. The Mr. Bourgeois, Jacob Road, which is the west side of Mr. Bourgeois' property, there is a ditch that drains to the interstate. From the interstate, it's supposed to drain west.
Okay.
So what happens, it's a relatively flat area, and once the water gets high enough, it can't drain out there fast enough.
Okay.
So part of our solution that we've done to try to help out Mr. Bourgeois is, because that's not a great area to drain, is we can stub out this 8-inch pipe, and it will allow him several feet of storage to be able to drain his water level, whatever level he wants to drain it to, and keep it at that level. And then between rain events, it could drain it down to that level. So he has roughly, I'm making up a number, 6 or 7 acre pond. He could have 7 acre feet of storage just on his piece of property if he can drop that water level down a foot, and we can allow that to happen through our property. So it's an easy fix to help him out a whole bunch.
Okay, and he's aware of that.
That's what we have proposed, and at one point he said he wasn't sure if he was gonna do it. I said, well, I'm gonna get the developer, because now is the time to do it. We can commit to stub it out the property line, and if he wants to extend it, he can extend it to whatever level he wants to do it. But the mechanism will be there through a public servitude the whole way so that he can take care of his property.
Okay, I understand. And do we have other wing walls with drainage in them? I see you've got a chart here, but I think you're just dealing with one, is that correct? Got a chart with different pipe sizes, but that's probably just a...
Right, that's
just a design chart?
Standard detail, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. All right. That's all I had for right now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barcelona.
Jeff. So half the pond is considered active green space, is that correct? Half of the drainage detention pond?
Well, I think all of it is considered open space, but for the calculation, only 50% of it can be included.
Okay.
So there was a requirement for roughly 16.46 acres needed of green space, and we've provided, as per the appropriate calculations, more than a half an acre beyond that. It's 17.03 acres. So we meet the PUD requirements, and we meet all of the requirements of the parish in that regard.
So as far as active green space, what does that mean for a detention pond? I mean, with kayaks on it, or what's?
No, I don't
I'm trying to
think,
figure out exactly what it means.
well, I don't think we'll be able to make active use of the surface because it's a public pond.
Right, I don't think you can, right? I mean, is that
Correct.
correct, staff? Is that,
Correct.
you can't really touch the pond, right? I mean, it's strictly for
That's
drainage.
correct.
And so it's hard for me to
You
understand how it can be
you can
active
tell
green
kids
space.
that and hope that they don't do it, but you're correct. It is not part of the planned recreation for the PUD.
So I don't remember seeing in other PUDs, having part of the pond as active green space. I mean, I've never seen that. Maybe, I miss it on other projects.
Sure.
But that seems to be pretty unusual to me.
I think that this is all passive green space, is that correct?
This is active green, the drawing says active, green space for part of the pond. I just want to make sure that's my understanding.
No active recreation on the pond.
No, what says active? It says 4.14 acres active pond and playground.
Right, well, we have an area of active recreation, but if you're talking about the water surface itself, the pond, no. Take a look at, is it G4?
Yes.
Look at parcel G4 on the plan, and you'll see that that's designated as an active recreation area.
Okay. So the pond is not an active green space?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that's, all right, well, thank you for that clarification. As far as the traffic study, I'm sorry, Jeff. How long ago was the traffic study done for the area?
Well, the counts would have been done,
Well, we did it in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022.
we've actually got 4 sets of traffic counts done.
Okay.
As it relates to various functions that we've had because of the phasing of the project. So the more recent approvals by LADOTD, which is a concurrence letter that they issue concurring with the proposed mitigation that we have presented or suggested for the development. That's based on the most recent counts.
How long ago were the counts done, the actual counts?
2021. You think like in the fall? It had to be after September. It had to be after September of 2021, because you have to have school start
Okay,
again.
so there were no impacts from COVID?
That's correct.
So
As you may
it's-
remember, the state lifted the hold on traffic studies right around Labor Day of 2021. So I'm believing that it was done as soon as that hold was released.
And explain some of the mitigation that you're going to do?
Sure.
As it relates to traffic?
Sean, come help me in case I stumble, but we have north and southbound turn lane opportunities into the subdivision entranceway. So we will be constructing a center lane. If you are going northbound, that would allow a left turn lane opportunity, a protected left turn into the subdivision.
Yes.
We also, coming from the north, have a southbound
Right turn lane.
right turn lane on the highway
Okay.
that funnels us into the subdivision. And although not required for access or safety into the subdivision, we also provided mitigation for Crawford Landing Road,
For a left and a right turn lane.
both a left and right turn lane opportunity. That was something the development provided to the region or the area. Again, there's no direct benefit to Bontero, but it was something that DOTD thought was important, your staff thought it was important, and my client agreed to do it.
All right, so I guess, thanks, Jeff, that was it for you.
Okay.
For staff, so you've reviewed the traffic study and concur with the findings? Is it an acceptable level of service?
Yes, sir. So we reviewed the traffic study along with the state, and it does meet all current St. Tammany ordinances, as well as we concur that the mitigation that's proposed in the study, as well as outlined in the DOTD concurrence, is also in line with the DOT requirements and the requirements of the study. So the plans they put forward and the permit they received from the state is outlined exactly what they want to do in the study, as well as it relates to the left and right turn lanes at both the subdivision entrance as well as Crawford Landing.
Okay. Do you know what the level of service was? Was
I
it?
printed that out in case you would ask me that, because I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Did you have are you talking about the subdivision entrance itself, sir, or?
Yeah.
Let's see. Montero Boulevard. So are you specifically asking for a turn movement or the overall intersection level of service?
I guess overall.
So the overall for the existing is obviously not existing, so nothing, but in the future condition, it will operate at a level service of A in both the AM and the PM in accordance with Mr. Burke's study.
That's at the intersection of Montero Boulevard
And Military Road.
Military Road?
Yes, sir.
What analysis did the state do on Military Road? Did they look at any other intersections?
The study went
beyond this?
north to the intersection of Brown Switch Road, the signalized intersection there, and evaluated that one.
Oh, they looked at that also?
Yes, sir, as well as going south to the Crawford Landing Road and evaluate the intersection there as well.
Okay, and that was all based on actual traffic count, recent traffic counts?
That was based on a number of things. The current traffic counts they just referenced it.
Okay.
There was a number of them, but the most recent ones being in 2021 is what the state reviewed for all three of those intersections, as well as, excuse me, they did those counts as well as provided a 2% growth factor for the development of the project. It's something we do at St. Tammany in accordance with our ordinance to project the future growth of traffic, not only from the development, which is a separate part of the study, but as well as from the region itself, because it's not unknown here that we have traffic growth every year.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smale.
I think that there are still effects from COVID to traffic. There's a lot of people still working at home. I think we need to remember that. So there are some effects on the traffic. I tried to pull out of this subdivision myself about 1 or 2 o'clock on the afternoon during a weekday. I had trouble just pulling out of the subdivision into traffic. And when is a tree survey supposed to be done to see what kind of trees are on the property? Who's responsible for that, and when's it supposed to be done?
At the subdivision level, we do not require a tree survey to be provided.
So they don't have to go in there and see what kind of trees are on the property before they clear cut?
No, at this time, the land clearing permit regulation does not address that.
We need to change that somehow, and find out what kind of trees are on the property before somebody clear cuts, and before they clear cut phases that are not even approved, which has been done in this case. Half of both phase 2 and 3 have been clear cut, and I think we need to send a message and go ahead and with the vote of denial.
Okay, anything else? I see no one else in the queue. And we have a motion to deny with a second. Please vote.
The motion to deny carries.
All right, we'll give y'all a few minutes to clear if you want to, or you're welcome to stay. Item 16. Uh, 2022-2798-PP, River Club Phase 3, developer owner River Club Development LLC, engineer surveyor Kelly McHugh and Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located along Oxbow Court, north of Delta Lane, south of Brewster Road, west of Chifuncta River, south of Interstate 12, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Yes, sir. Preliminary plans and a hydraulic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made on the site on March 31st, 2022. Staff has no objection to the approval of the proposed preliminary subdivision request, subject to the developer complying with the comment and items below, and no work order to be issued until all required items are satisfactorily completed and submitted.
Thank you. Mr. Maroon.
Good evening, Mr. Daugherty, members of the commission. Paul Marone again, this time on behalf of River Club Development LLC. We will comply with the only comment, which is to provide the field credit transfer for phases 2 and 3. And we ask for your approval of River Club Subdivision Phase 3. I'll be happy to answer any questions any of the commissioners might have.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Do we have any cards? Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, we'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Snail.
Since we're on the subject, has this been clear cut, phase 3? No, so it's all wooded?
I don't know if it is all wooded because, let's see, let me take a look. The reason is, as part of the initial phases, it was a very large canal area that was excavated. So some of the areas on the edge of that excavation could be in this phase, but that would be the extent of it.
This is a PUD?
This is a PUD, yes,
So
sir.
there's no requirement to even do a study on what trees are on the property?
I believe that's correct.
So you can go in and clear cut it all you want?
It's not, it's already open.
It's already open?
Field-like area.
Okay.
The only area that's wooded is on the little river there.
Who would have to make these rules about trees?
The parish council.
And how do we do that? So
You're right at this time.
so the council would make that, they'd have to bring it up themselves?
We're currently working on reviewing the ordinance and adding some language, so eventually it'll come to the zoning commission for review.
Are we adding language about a tree study on the property, but, I mean?
We're definitely considering it, yes.
For a PUD? All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
All right. Final subdivision review. All right, item 17, 2022-2749-FP, Lakeshore Villages Phase 6A, developer owner DR Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyor, Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Louisiana Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. This was postponed at the March 8th meeting. Staff?
Mr. Chairman, I was just informed by Mr. Shane that he would like to request to postpone.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, on behalf of, with regard to cases 17 and 19, I've spoken to my client this evening since the meeting began and respectfully request that each of them by separate vote be postponed until the May meeting. Staff has recommended postponement for each of those cases, and I don't think we have enough information to present to you this evening, and I know staff has not had a chance to look at that information.
Okay. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Move to postpone.
Motion to postpone by Commissioner Willie for 1 month.
Yes.
1 month, Jeff?
Yes.
You have a motion by Commissioner Willie for 1 month. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
If you notice, if I'm not mistaken, he's also requesting to postpone item 19, 2022-2792. Am I correct, Mr. Shane?
Right. Okay. Case was 2022-2792-FP, tribute at Tammany, Phase 1, developer owner DR Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyor Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Kirk Drum. General location, the property is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 434 and north of Interstate 12, Lacombe, Ward 7, District 11, and the petitioner is requesting a postponement. Commissioner Truxillo.
I make a motion to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote.
The motion to postpone carries.
Thank you. All right. Next item is 2022-2794-FP. This is item 20, Southern Oaks Phase 2, developer owner Yannon LLC, engineer is Kyle and Associates LLC, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Michael Marina. General location, the property is located on the west of Trepanier Road, south of Louisiana Highway 22, south of Interstate 12, Covington, Ward 1, District 4. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on April 1st, 2022. The inspection disclosed that all the concrete roads are constructed, and the roadside shoulders are constructed, and the roadside ditches were functioning. The following uncompleted items, numbers 1 through 9, existed at the time of final inspection and will need to be complete before plats are signed. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve a request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,500 linear feet and $25 per linear foot for a total of $37,500 for a period of 2 years. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision, subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. Mandatory developmental fees are required as follows. Road impact fees at $1,077 per lot times 35 lots for a grand total of $37,695, and a drainage impact fee at $1,114 per lot at 35 lots for a total of $38,990. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Morone on behalf of Yannon LLC and Southern Oaks Subdivision Phase 2. All of the 9 comments are paper revisions, if you will, requiring updates to the final plat and to the paving and drainage plan. The only comment that perhaps could have been substantive is item number 6 with regards to the flow of that ditch. We consulted with our engineer, who's here, also with the contractor, and that is not an issue with the grading of the ditch, but rather was an error on the as-bills. Those as-bills will be updated to reflect the proper flow that is currently in place there. All of the other items, we will make the changes as requested to the plat and to the paving and drainage plan, and we'd respectfully request your approval for Southern Oaks Subdivision Phase 2.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. I have a card from Joseph Delerno. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name's Joseph Delerno. I live at 4072 Oak Bend Lane in Southern Oaks. And I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but I had to go somewhere, so I've stuck it out tonight. I've got an issue with the burning of the debris that's there in Southern Oaks, the trees that have been cut down and the underbrush. I called the fire department, spoke to them, stopped by, spoke with them. They came out. Fire department says, not us. You got to talk to, I think it was development. Talk to development. They said, well, kind of us, not really us. You need to talk to engineering. So I've sent 5 emails with some photographs and 1 or 2 videos, I can't remember. But I have a direct line of sight from my backyard to where the burning's taking place. And it's 253 feet. And the brush piles that are burned are, it would be an exaggeration to say half as big as this room, but fully a third as big as this room. And if there is any kind of a wind in a easterly direction, it comes right into my backyard. It's hard to breathe, but I have an issue with maybe it being a fire hazard. But I can't get anybody to tell me anything other than, I guess, come here. So is there anybody that can help me or tell me anything about what should be done or can be done?
The regulation states that the fire has to be at least 500, a minimum of 500 feet from the nearest residence. According to maybe Mr. Daniel had a conversation with you today, or maybe Ted, and it is more than 500 feet from a residence. So maybe, Ted, you can confirm.
Yes, sir. Actually, to kind of speak to that, when was the last time you noticed the burning taking place? If you wouldn't mind, that was
probably. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What date was the last time they burned to where it was in excess or the smoke was blowing in your way or anything like that?
3 days, 4 days, maybe.
Okay. Because I did have in reference to the staff report, we actually did get your call from you, the engineering department, on April 1st. And that was actually when I made my inspection and noticed the burning. It did exceed the 500 feet away per requirement. I did call the contractor that day to discuss this with him and ensure that he was in compliance with his burning requirements of the 500 feet away. He did inform me, like you said, that the fire marshal had been out there numerous times to inspect the fire. I think at least twice he informed me that he went out there to inspect the fire and noticed that there was no inconsistencies with the requirements of the burn plan. Now, that being said, part of that is to also make sure it's not burning at nighttime. I informed the contractor that, and he told me that they smolder it at the end of each night. If that's not taking place, I would like you to let us know, because that's something we can talk to them about. But we did bring that up to the contractor on April 1st.
Have you seen the pictures I've sent?
I saw the pictures you sent today, but it didn't have a date stamp, so I was unsure of when those videos and pictures were taking place. So I didn't know if those were pre the April 1st inspection or post the April 1st inspection, and that's why I would ask. That's what brought me to this question today.
If you want, I'll be happy to show you on my phone, and you can see the date stamps. Okay,
That'd be perfect. Yes,
but I don't know what measurements you're using to do the measurement.
Mhm.
I'm using a rangefinder, and I have a direct line of sight, and it says 253 feet.
Okay.
Now, that's my house. There are 3 other homes that are closer than I am,
Mhm.
between where I am and the fire. So I would dispute the distance issue.
No.
Additionally, there was some conversation I had with the fire department, and I found this interesting, where there was also a regulation, I believe, that there couldn't be more than 2 burns or 3 burns at a time.
And so I'm not sure the fire regulations, but I can speak to when I was out there on the 1st. That's why I would like to ask what pile you're referring to, because there was numerous piles on site during my inspection, but only one of those piles was actually burning, being monitored by the guy clearing it. So that pile that I referenced on the 1st that I noticed was in fact more than the 500 feet away from the nearest structure. Now, that's not to say there wasn't other piles closer to structures, but none of those were a burn when I was there on the 1st.
Okay. I would tell you that the only time it's not burning at night
Mhm.
is when there's a severe rain.
Okay.
Okay? It's burning, all right? Now, it may be just smoldering, but I also thought that somebody had told me, and I believe it's the fire department, or maybe someone in engineering, that you also had to have someone there if there is an active fire.
Yes, sir. Should be someone there.
And I can show you the photograph. I mean, if you look at the video and you look at the photographs, and I can tell you, where I live, okay, well, you wouldn't know this, but I have a sleep disorder, so I'll be awake at 2 or 3 in the morning. And I say, I'll go down and take a look. You know, or I walk out the back door and I look and I say, yeah, it's burning, let me go look, you know, see how bad it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a lot worse than others. But one of the solutions that somebody found to the more than one pile burning was they took 2 and 3 and 4 piles, smaller piles and pushed them together, to make one big giant pile. So, but if you want me to supply you with whatever, I'd be happy to do it.
No, absolutely. That way we can have some documents and we can go to the contractor and say, hey, these need to be put out by the time you guys are leaving, or they need to be monitored. And let's say it's a perfect forum for this, because legal representation is also here tonight. And I think you would help me echo that to the contractor, that this needs to be monitored a little bit more closely.
But here's 5
Thank you, sir.
of the emails that I sent to you guys that indicate.
Yes, sir. I got these this morning.
I know.
Yes, sir.
That's so you have now.
Thank you.
And you can see from the dates on that, when those were sent.
That's why I
So
wanted to
you
know what's
can
after.
assume that the fire was burning, since that's when I took the pictures and sent it. But anyway, thank y'all very much. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Mr. Morone, you have any comment?
I would just say that this is the first that I'm being made aware of the issue, but I've taken good notes. Our engineer is here. He heard it as well. I'll also be talking to the contractor and with the developer directly, and so I'll make sure that I go through all of these issues, that they're aware if they're not already. Sounds like Mr. Hombacher is probably aware to some extent, but I'll certainly fill him in, and we certainly want to make sure that, one, we're in compliance with whatever regulations are there, and two, that we're sensitive to the folks that live next to us. And I'll follow up on each of those issues.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this? I'm going to close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Seeger, you don't wish to speak?
I just wanted to make sure they got it.
Second, okay. All right, thank you. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 21 was postponed, 22 was postponed. We go to old business. Item 23. Item is 2021-2326-MSP, a minor subdivision of parcels A, B, and C into parcels A1, B1, and C1. Owner and representative is Michael W. Wittich and Catherine Gale Wittich, Brian Yananga, and Alice Graham Jordan. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location of parcels located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 25, north of Airport Road, south of Wiley Jenkins Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from parcels A, B, and C. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to parcel A, B, and C were previously part of a minor subdivision approved in August 2018, and the request is subject to items 1 and 2. A minor subdivision was submitted in 2021 to create 2 parcels, and I've attached the survey that was originally approved by the Planning Commission, and since then the owner, or the prospective owner, would like to amend his request and basically increase the size of parcel A1 and reduce the size of parcel B1 to a 1-acre parcel.
All right. Thank you. Yes, sir. You are?
Brian Yannicka.
Okay.
Address is 74176 Highway 25, Covington. I'm just trying to purchase the odd sizes of land that are adjacent to my land, attached to the land. So now you'll have 1-acre lots available. So I'm buying all the odd sizes.
Okay. Is he gonna need to resubmit a survey?
Yes, he will have to submit a revised survey. I mean, he submitted a survey, but we'll need a revised survey to address item 1 and 2. But the revised survey has already been resubmitted the way you would like to have it. That's the first survey that is attached to your staff report.
Okay.
And I have the new one here too.
we'll need the 10 original copies.
Y'all have them, though?
I'll speak with you.
Okay.
So you've got it?
Yes, we got it.
Okay, all right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie.
Yes, basically, he's just changing the lot lines from 3 lots to 3 lots. I move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Willie to approve. Commissioner Smale.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Smale. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 24, cases 2021-2398-PP, Alexander Ridge, Phase 4, developer owner Savannah Community LLC. Engineer is Kyle and Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, east of Louisiana Highway 1081, south of Smith Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Developers requesting modification to the preliminary plat approved at the June 8th, 2021 meeting. Staff?
Oh, yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the engineer of record for the above captioned project, Mr. James Powell, has requested approval for the proposed changes in accordance with the attached letter dated August 24th, 2021 for the referenced preliminary subdivision. Those changes are outlined as follows. The typical section has been revised from a concrete pavement section to with subsurface drainage within a 60-foot right-of-way to an asphalt pavement section with open ditch drainage within an 80-foot right-of-way. The amount of green space within the proposed development has been reduced from 103.57 acres to 100.08 acres, which represents only a 3.37% decrease from the previously approved green space. This falls within the 5% threshold we consider minor amendment, and there is no change to the land use or density within the revised plot plan. The Department of Engineering has reviewed this request and has no objection to the requested modifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Eddie Powell with Kyle Associates, 638 Village Lane North in Mandeville. I think Mr. Reynolds summed it up pretty well, but just wanted to make ourselves available for any questions. Basically, this, as we did the PUD and then got preliminary plat approval, we were into the drawings a little bit more and working with the developer and just made some changes to where the outfall and the drainage was going, as well as deciding to go with a little bit more green infrastructure scenario with going with open ditches to allow for a little bit more infiltration instead of just letting everything drain straight through culverts. So those were the main changes. But we increased the right-of-way to accommodate all those and to accommodate all of the utility infrastructure as well.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? We'll close to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Smale.
So here we are, again, changing from concrete to asphalt, making a change from more green space to less green space. We're just changing this PUD up, making changes that we didn't like in the previous PUD. I make a motion to deny.
Motion by Commissioner Smale to deny. Commissioner McInnes.
I was just curious. I mean, this is an example of a huge amount of green space for a project like this, but I felt like there wasn't a lot of public access to the green space, and I was just wondering. Y'all said you would consider trails down the road. Did any pop up?
My name's Kenneth Lapicola, 21056 Smith Road. I'm the developer. I've been the developer out there for 20 years, started with the Tammany development, did phase 3 and now on to phase 4. All this property is directly adjacent to my personal property. Back to the green space, we have put in a trail system down the whole river. I think as we get further into plan, it'll be more identified. Matter of fact, it's walkable right now. Mrs. Regan, who did the tree walk with me, She saw the trails that we were putting in and that are available. So I guess they aren't all on the plot, but the whole part of the conservation easement is the usability. It will have sanctuary areas for wildlife, as we'll have the promotion of the preservation of the Lilboa River. The big change I had early in the process, I hired environmentalist Gene Johannan. He asked me to always follow his recommendations when we could. The EPA also came out with recommendations about how open swales are more environmentally friendly than the curb and gutter. Phase 3 in Alexander Ridge, we did have curb and gutter because of the topo of the property coming off of a hill. The use of curb and gutter with the concrete was necessary. We're back in a very flat part of the property. Normally, an asphalt road with open swale is done in a 60-foot right-of-way. We're going to an 80-foot right-of-way to make sure utilities are far away from the road, making a nice gentle swale that is environmentally friendly. We're 70% green space. We very much want to be on the conservation side of every element there is, and we've tried to take all recommendations to get there. That is what led to the major change. We're also improving 1 mile of Thibodeau Road, a huge asphalt project that in the beginning we did not believe we were taking on. We thought we were going to patch and add to the road. So now we have over 1 mile of asphalt road we're putting in for the parish. Glad to do it. We're doing 1 mile of asphalt road inside of our development. So to change contractors from concrete to asphalt to achieve what we're trying to do to Thibodeau Road, we almost needed the economy of scale to commit to the amount of improvements that we're trying to do. So it was not a total cost factor whatsoever in our decision. In our development right now, Terra Maria has asphalt roads. They were just redone this year without any cooperation or ask of the parish. Brand new asphalt roads just got installed. Phase 3 has concrete. Phase 4, we're asking for asphalt. So we have that full combination. We are a private community, and we do have funding sources for all of our roads, whether they're concrete or asphalt, curb, because we have that full combination. Basically, we're a 230-acre master plan community, but y'all are only looking at us kind of in pieces. Comprehensively, we are the greenest community on the North Shore. We have never maximized our density in any part of our project, and we've maximized the amount of green space. And when we say green space, this is usable, high drive property that could be lots. And that's not the way our business operates. So we really would appreciate approval tonight, and we're about conservation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One follow-up question. You will have a conservation easement on the green space?
We have 3 types of green space, as I had described
Well, I meant
before.
the bigger block.
The bigger block along the river that we want to protect is in a conservation easement. We do have green space inside the development that will have different uses. And then we have a border with the Thibodeau family that's labeled as the Thibodeau buffer, and we're letting them have their input on how that area will be treated and replanted, and talks with the Thibodeau family.
Who's the easement with?
Well, that's what we're working out. We have to get our project further along to make sure we actually have it.
Okay, so it hasn't been done yet?
It won't be just an easement. We will select a non-for-profit, 501c3. We will actually donate the conservation lands to that entity.
Right.
So.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Well, I don't know, can I make another move to approve?
The motion doesn't have a second, so you can make a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay. The motion to deny failed for lack of second. We have another motion on the floor to approve. Do we have a second? Commissioner Seeger.
I'd like to defer to legal before I make a second.
You can second the motion to approve.
It is seconded then.
Okay. And I just wanted to point out that the only thing before the commission is those changes to the drainage and the asphalt and concrete. The amendment to the green space is a minor amendment, and that's subject to approval by the Director of Planning, and it's not up for approval by the Planning Commission tonight.
Okay, Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
It was covered. It's been covered.
No, it's been covered. Okay, Commissioner Crawford.
One question. I'm glad to hear you talk about Tibero Road. When we did this originally, that was my concern. What size is that road going to be? The width?
That road's going to be 18 feet,
18
consistently
feet.
wide, all new asphalt. We're adding where we need to get it to that width and improving the ditches.
Okay,
along
it'll
the
have
way.
all new surface on it?
Yes, sir.
And it's a
The
mile
whole-
long?
It's about a mile long, yes, sir.
Good, very good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, 25 was withdrawn. Item 26, 2020-2012-PP, Lakeshore Villages, Phase 11. Developer owner D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast. Engineer surveyor Duplantis Design Group, PC. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slide L, Ward 9, District 13. Developers requesting modification to the preliminary plat approved at the September 8th, 2020 meeting. Staff?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the engineer of record for the above captioned project, Mr. Thomas Buckle, has submitted a plan modification for the above referenced preliminary subdivision. The proposed change would eliminate 10 lots along the western section of Bellwick Bay Drive from the existing Lakeshore Villages Phase 11 and establish 4 new lots at the intersection of Bellwick Bay Drive and Fluvetta Falls Road. This modification would result in a total net decrease of 6 lots for this phase of Lakeshore Villages. Department Engineering has reviewed this request and has no objection to the requested modifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shane?
Jeff Shane, Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, on behalf of D.R. Horton, Gulf Coast, in connection with this request. The request is simple and well stated. We appreciate staff's recommendation. This obviously is a result of in-the-field analysis of what we can do and what we can't do, but this will be a reduction of density by 6 lots. And we ask that you approve this request to amend preliminary subdivision for Phase 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, item 27, entering the parish right-of-way. Request to enter the parish right-of-way for Ozone Street, Town of Mandeville subdivision for the purpose of extending the street and installing drainage features. Resolution number 19-105. The debtor is SMS Holdings LLC. Council Parish Council District is Honorable James Davis. General location, the property is located on the north side of Jones Street, east of Salt Street, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 7. Developers engineers requesting a waiver for fee in lieu of detention. Staff?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the engineer of record for the above captioned project, Mr. James Powell, has requested a waiver for the fee in lieu of detention requirement for the above referenced end of the right-of-way project that was previously approved at the special rescheduled October 8th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting in accordance with Ordinance Section 125-197E3. Department of Engineering has reviewed this request and has no objection to the requested waiver since the project is within the lower two-thirds of the Bayou Castine drainage basin and meets the requirements set forth in the above referenced ordinance section. Therefore, upon approval of the requested waiver, the following fee will need to be paid to St. Tammany Parish before an issuance of an unlimited work order for Resolution 19-105, and that fee would be 1.11 acres at a rate of $2,000 per acre, a substitute rate for zoning, for a total amount owed of $2,220. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Somebody here?
Hello again, Eddie Powell with Kyle Associates. We're here requesting a fee in lieu of detention, which is what we actually did for the Rapitel Street next, parallel to this project when we got this into the parish right away, and for some reason the Ozone Street did make it to the front of you guys, so we're here requesting that fee in lieu of for the detention, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Seeger. Commissioner Crawford.
I'll second the motion, but I had one question. What we're looking at is the 5 lots on the right side of this page is what we're looking at?
Yes, sir.
I have this little drawing.
Yes, sir, the one on the left side.
Left side of the
Plan
page.
left side.
On the left side?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Rapitel has already been
Okay, so
done
that's
and approved.
Rapitel.
Yeah, there are 2 sets of plans, but relative to 2 different inter-parish right-of-ways. So the Ozone is lots 34, excuse me, 20, 28A, 30A, 32A, 34A, and then 19A, it looks like.
Okay.
So it's the 5 lots on Ozone.
I couldn't understand what was going on in this plan too good, so, okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
No further comments.
Okay. Do we have a motion? There's a second. Okay, please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
We have no new business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved. All you have to do is ask me, I'll give it to you.